Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the workshop to discuss the Marion County Airport fees. Today is Monday, April the 8th. If you'll all please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, if we could please have roll call.
Chairman Stone.
Here.
Vice Chair Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Bryant. Here. Commissioner Gold.
Here.
Commissioner Zalek.
Here.
Very good. Thank you. Before we begin with our staff presentation, our attorney, Mr. Mentor, would like a few minutes to speak with us.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So this ties into our discussion this morning, but in talking with Monier and Mr. Couillard concerning the airport fees and related matters, I got into looking at the special act that created the Denellen Airport Authority back in 1981. And as has been the case with some things here in Marion County, we have some special act legislation that kind of gets forgotten about over the years. And we actually ran into a problem with that. Some of you will recall back in 2010 when we were doing some road projects, and some of the citizens that were subject to those assessments said, wait a minute, you're not even following your special act. And turned out that we hadn't complied with our special act, and that led into litigation, and we ultimately worked through that, but created problems. So I just wanted to give you a little heads up on this. The special act provides for the Denellen Airport Authority, and it provides that the Board of County Commissioners is the governing body of the Airport Authority. But since I've been here, in my memory, the board has never put on your Denellen Airport Authority hat and acted as the Denellen Airport Authority. And so by way of analogy, the board's familiar with how we deal with the CRA meetings, and usually on a zoning meeting day, we'll show up at 1:50 in the afternoon and you'll put on your CRA hats. And so what I'm talking about here is a relatively simple thing. The special act provides for the powers of the authority for entering into contracts, setting rates, fees, and charges. And so obviously sometime back, a couple of years ago, I guess, Mr. Couillard was kind of, the authority, or the airport was kind of put under Mr. Couillard's operation. But we still have kind of this anomaly of, you know, exactly what status does our staff have if they're not acting under the auspices of the authority. So in talking to our clerk, David and I discussed on Friday that it seems like it would be simple enough for us to convene a meeting as the authority, and in that meeting just have the authority indicate that we're in effect going to contract with the Board of County Commissioners of Marion County to manage the operational aspects of the airport. And in the same hearing, we could then have a public hearing to approve some of the rates and charges that we're talking about here today. So I just want to give you that brief overview. It seems like it's something with a simple fix, but it would be my recommendation that we have something in our records to show that we've made that official designation of who's going to be actually managing the affairs of the authority.
So are we good to go ahead with our workshop, and then at the end we can make that motion to move forward with the hearing to discuss the county commissioners,
contracting, VCC contracting to operate and manage the airport. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Couillard, this workshop is to review the airport fees and consideration of logo options. So we'll move forward with that this morning.
Correct. Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman Stone, Monier. Jim Couillard, Director of Parks and Recreation. Today we do have our Airport Manager Mike Raw with us for support, and we also have our Assistant Director Kelsey Mears. Just those two topics for discussion today. Today we're presenting you with a draft for proposed fees that we'd like to implement at the airport. That was the attachment of the agenda item under that title. Fees include fuel sales prices, which must remain flexible in relation to wholesale costs and market values, lease rates for various hangars, airport services, and grounds and facility fees. It should be noted that we're looking to implement these. Maybe most of them are fixed, but at the same time we're asking for some flexibility in negotiating other fees, such as facility use rates, manning rates for events that are being planned at the airport. This flexibility would allow all staff to work with event holders to provide them with the desired services while keeping our fees affordable. All leases and agreements for events would still come to either the board or the county administrator for approval. So with that, we're willing to open a discussion about the fees that you see in front of you today.
Okay, board, I'll bring it to you if there's any questions or comments.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Like, Mike was there at the meeting when we met with Ms. Pratt. How have you discussed with the different individuals who actually are using the facility on a day-to-day basis and went over some of this with them?
Yes, absolutely, sir. We've socialized a lot of these rates ahead of time just to make sure that it seemed fair and equitable to everybody around. I think most of them are happy to see that we're standardizing our rates. So when you're talking about the land lease rates that we talked about with Ms. Pratt,
right,
that would be standardized as well. That's the $2,400 a year.
Right, and that's where something like this would have came in handy that day.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
sir.
you know.
Absolutely.
So,
Go ahead.
so how does it affect all, how many events do you have today? What are they doing today, and then how will it affect it in the future?
Currently, we don't have a whole lot of events there. We're working on trying to grow that side of the airport, trying to bring in more events. We have the FAST event, which originally was set for 5 times per year. They've just asked to go to 12 times per year. We also have the aerobatics contest, as you know, and then we have a few other things that are coming along that we're trying to work on. Right now, we have a speedway event that wants to come out there. Just a few other things, but we're trying to open up the idea that we can rent out that part of the airport, but the part that's not used for aviation.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Gold.
When you're talking about that, is that back runway?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Back where you do the-
What do you have to do to that to have it ready? That's gonna need a lot of repairs, isn't it?
Depends on what goes on out there. Like the pit maneuvers that you guys do, it's fine the way it is. The FAST event, it actually works really well the way it's set up. They use that newer part, that
holes?
newer blacktop. Yeah, they go around the holes. They set the cones in the holes. Actually, it's kind of funny.
All right.
But for an aviation event, of course, we'd be back to aviation standards.
All right. And then with the fees, does that still keep you competitive with your fuel prices?
That's the whole idea, is that these fees will support our fuel prices. We
Right.
try to keep our operating costs low to where we can keep our fuel price below our competitors, neighboring airfields and stuff like that. Yes, sir.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
So
Yes.
are these the same, do any of the surrounding airports have the same fees for
Mo-
rentals and day use? Are they the same as Williston, or,
Yes, sir.
I don't know?
They're very comparable. Every airport has different capabilities. For example, we have a transient hangar. Not every airport has that, but if they do, they have a set fee for that transient hangar as well. Yes, sir.
So what events are they doing at Williston, for instance?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you what events they do. They don't typically publicize what events they have until the day of the event. The one they do, their biggest thing of the year, they do a poker run pig roast, and a poker run with airplanes, of course. And I can find out more detail about that.
So what exactly qualifies for an event?
Basically anything that inhibits the airport, whether they need to use the facilities, if they need exclusive rights to a runway. For example, the aerobatics needed the primary runway. The use of overtime, the use of any area that's not typically used. So anything that's non-standard, large gathering type event, or profiting event would also fall into those.
Okay, so if you have a bunch of folks that want to come and fly in and go somewhere in Denellen or do something, like that, is that going to qualify and they're going to get charged an event fee? Like, at what point, that's what I'm trying to figure out. At what point does it become an event versus, a bunch of folks getting together, to fly in somewhere and do one of these, coffees or burgers or lunches or whatever that is?
That's a great question, Commissioner. I would relate that directly to how we use our sports complexes and other facilities right now. If you want to go out there and play up a pickup game of ball with a few friends or whatever, that's fine. But once you're an organized entity that wants to use a facility on a routine basis, or you have an organized team that you're operating under a 501c3 or some type of corporation, we'd consider that a long-term rental rate. And we would ask for the people to provide their insurance to the organization and keep everybody safe. So it's more about preempting the use of the facility, or just outside of normal aviation activity, say group campouts or things like that at the airport, would entertain that sort of thing as well. Anything that would just be a little bit above and beyond just your typical fly-in type of thing. If you're flying in for that $100 hamburger, that's all great. That's not an event. But if you're going to bring in a whole event and have a little fly-in type of barbecue or something where you're preempting the use of certain areas, we'd trigger that as an event.
So if you're going to stay on the airport and use it, I guess that would become an event. If you're going to have something catered there.
It could be, or it could just be a simple rental. A simple rental like we do with group camping out at Horseshoe Lake. That's just a little rental agreement that we'll have with that troop or that pack, and they'll come out there and use that facility.
Okay.
We do have fly-ins, like you mentioned, regularly, and those aren't charged an event fee.
How many typical people would that include?
We have
5 or 20, you know?
Probably up to the 20 airplanes, that is, not so much people.
Right.
And they're not using any of our facilities any more than a single airplane would use it. And that's kind of how we make the judgment call between what is an event and what is just a fly-in. We host the, part of the expression, it's the Old Farts Fly-In Club. They come up on a regular basis and they like to come in. They go down to Swampy's for dinner or for lunch. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're not charged an event fee.
And then we're going to have some time before this actually goes into action. Do you have any events that are going to be coming up in the next 6 months that have been using the airport without fees or with different fees?
We do have the FAST event coming up in 2 weeks. It's one that we've been using regularly and has been routed for approval in the past.
Okay.
We've been using the same contract. Yes, sir.
Okay, so nothing else?
Nothing else at this time.
And you don't really have the aerobatics and those other kind of aviation style things till the following year or whatever, right?
That's correct.
I mean, you wouldn't be looking at any other aviation style events that you know of, right?
Right. We don't have anything booked. We're hoping to grow some, but we don't have any booked at this time until next spring.
Until next spring.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So that'll give you a year, basically, with any pre-existing events to let people know what the new pricing will be.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Right. So we're not going to run into this thing where, you know, you publish pricing and people aren't prepared for it in the next 3 months and you got an event coming up.
And when we bring this back to the board commission for approval, if you want us to do like a leeway time or preparation time, in
Well, it
the
seems like there's
resolution,
not.
we can do that.
Yeah, there seems like there's not anything on the calendar. You don't have anything on the calendar, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
I wouldn't postpone it once we implement the fees, especially since there's nothing on the calendar. I think that the fees should go
Right.
into effect immediately.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
Anything that's already on the calendar, they wouldn't be being charged a fee anyway because they should already have their contracting done.
If
Well,
we
that's not
had
necessarily-
That's
anything
fine
on the
if that's how you
calendar.
want to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If we've already
Done, though, yeah.
made a date with someone and we've got a calendared event that these fees were not in effect, they would not be under these new fees. These new fees would be as of moving forward,
Absolutely.
not retrospect.
Yes, ma'am.
So if anybody has a scheduled event, even if it's a year away, you don't want the fees to apply.
No, we do.
That's not,
That's not what she just said.
Yeah, if
that's
we,
not what she said, yeah.
yeah, that's not what we just said. If
But we
it's-
just said we don't have anything scheduled.
No, we don't have anything scheduled. The next aerobatics contest that would be an aviation-related event is not scheduled. It is typically in the spring.
But we don't have a contract with them at this time.
No, ma'am.
So there is nothing scheduled at this moment.
That's correct.
So.
You have no
that-
events except for this current fast thing in 2 weeks.
Fast,
That
yes,
is
sir.
actually on a calendar.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay,
Very good.
that's fine.
Okay, so I think, are we good with these? I mean, it's a workshop only. So, any direction? I guess we've done all we can on that.
Madam
Yeah,
Chair?
so I mean, can we go, I was just curious, I mean, I don't see what the previous rates were, so are any of these hangar rates changing?
We did a standardized increase, sir. The rates, Some of them went up, some of them actually went down. What happened when we got here, our normal lease was gonna expire in June, so we gave a small period, and we started a new lease in October with the new rates. So we publicized it in June, we started the rates in October, so our current rates are $300 and $250 for the hangars. That went through, on average, about an 8% increase. Actually lowered the rate in some, but what it did was it standardized, so everybody in the same building was paying the same rate. Previously, that was up and down quite a bit.
It was all over the place.
Okay, Commissioner Bryant?
And how many do we have on our waiting list for our T-hangers?
Currently, I didn't check it this morning, I believe it's about 47 names active and about 20 inactive that are still on the list.
Great, thank you.
And can you just make sure that anybody that's done an event with us in the last 2 years, or maybe even further back than that, just gets a notice from the airport saying, hey, our fees have changed, we're moving into this type of eventing fee. This way that as they plan, because people will go under the presumption that next year they want to have an aviation event, or they want to come back for FAST after this one, or whatever else, and then they're under the presumption, oh, we're just going to walk in, we're going to schedule this thing, and then it's going to be free, or it was going to be what it was last time. And so I don't want people to be under that misconception. I want them to have a year's worth of notice.
Yes, sir. I fully agree. I want to put it up out front for everybody as well.
Okay.
Yeah, no surprises.
Very good. Okay.
So this will come back to the board for
approval
after you
convene
have that one
or
meeting to contract with the BCC to run the
Well, the
authority's
fees,
requirements.
as Mr. Minter said, need to be approved by the airport authority.
Yeah.
And we are not acting as are we acting as?
Once you contract with the BCC, you can do it as the BCC.
Oh, you can, okay.
Yeah.
I
So
misunderstood what you said then.
I prefer to do it as a BCC, then if we want to make any changes in the future, and we don't have to go back and reconvene an authority meeting.
But you probably still have to have, we're probably supposed to have one once a year, right?
Well,
Isn't that
I forgot to say this, but one thing you might think about for next year's our legislative agenda, perhaps would be to
Dissolve.
eliminate this special act and just put it under the BCC. Make everything easier for us.
Good point. Okay. All right, so I think we've got one other item for consideration.
Yes, Madam Chair. The second option, program is actually part of this presentation, is actually 4 different logo ideas that we've brought back from our previous workshop. Hopefully this is a little bit more fun for you to do. Instead of looking at airport fees, is actually picking out a pretty neat logo. Our staff, along with public relations staff, worked hard on presenting these to you. I don't know if we can get these up on the screen or not. What's that? Yeah, somebody. I don't know if anybody's back there. There we go. So these are the 4 finalists, I'd like to say, for the logo. Each one of them uses our X35 nomenclature, which is what the airport is actually referred to as in the aviation community. And then it also has Marion County Airport. This follows in line a lot closer with our current logos, the same colors and everything that we've currently used within Marion County. So today we'd like to see if we can get a final determination on this pick so we can move forward with some branding and some marketing efforts.
I think Mike's got a little piece of paper he might want to model for us.
Here you go.
Thanks, Commissioner. This is the primary one that's bottom listed on the PDF that you're looking at.
Subliminal, bigger one, yeah.
Exactly. We do have a lot of senior customers, so it's probably better to have something a little bigger. The verbiage on the bottom works well for displaying on the ad as well, so just an idea.
Yeah, 2 and 4 were my favorites, so, for readability.
But
Good job.
I was looking for a shirt this morning. He walked in with it, and it's like, there you go. I need to see this on a shirt.
We don't have the other ones as well?
Well, they are. They're folded up there, but they're so small when you put them on the shirt.
This, apologize for the archaic method here. This is the top one.
That's
Right.
number 1.
all at the same.
Come on, Mike, keep
Yeah,
going.
1, 2, and 3.
He's got it all.
2 and 3 look the same.
Other than the
Are 1
colors.
and 3 the same size?
Yeah, they're just
3 is a
got the
little
line.
bigger, isn't it?
No,
It just
no,
has
no.
the
one,
line
I
in the
think 1, 2,
center.
3 are all the same size.
Mhm.
They are. It's an optical illusion.
Yeah.
Number 4.
What's that?
It's just an optical illusion.
Okay.
They're all the same size.
Color variance in these two, and this one has a line divider.
The bottom one just gives you more space on a landscape orientation to expand the X35.
And on a cap.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
4.
Or
Okay.
Sounds good. Real good.
Congratulations, you have a logo.
That's not like they're really different options.
Right.
With that, Commissioners, if there's any other questions, we appreciate your time this morning.
anyone else have anything? Well, we thank your staff for all the work they did on the logo presentations, and we look forward to coming back and making some decisions and getting it under the appropriate approval process.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess while we wait for everyone to get ready for us.